Alright, guys. So I just wanted to talk about a particular narrative that I've been seeing, especially since Joshua lost to Usyk. So I've been seeing this narrative for a couple of years now, and it's the narrative that Joshua has the best resume in the heavyweight division. Um, I definitely think Fury has a better resume than Joshua, and I'm going to go through Joshua's resume today and explain why it's extremely overrated. So yeah, let's get started on this. So I'm going to obviously vast majority of UK fighters always fight, journeyman coming up the ranks. So I'm not going to go through wins like this. Like, there's no point really. Like Michael Sprott or anything like that. There's no point of going through those wins because they're not quality. So I'm probably going to start around here, the Kevin Johnson win. So Kevin Johnson is obviously, he's a journeyman. Every man and his dog in the heavyweight division has fought him. I think he's got 25 losses at this point. So he won in pretty impressive fashion, but it's not exactly a great win, is it? Considering Kevin Johnson's a journeyman. Gary Cornish. Gary Cornish was a solid domestic level fighter. That's all you can say. He was okay domestically, but this is the same guy who got outboxed by Sam Sexton. And he's the same guy who would have been knocked out by Dave Allen if they would have fought. So, not much to say about that. Right, the Dillon White fight. This is probably where he burst onto the scene in a way. So Dillon White, he's not a great fighter. Let's be honest. We've seen in recent fights, like his fight against a 40-year-old Alexander Povetkin, where he was knocked spark out, and obviously Tyson Fury knocked him out as well. He is very overrated. He's had a poor career. He's been knocked down numerous times to guys like Oscar Rivas. He struggled against Marius Vac. He struggled against a lot of fighters in his career. Robert Helenius obviously rocked him. And he struggles against everyone he's fought, even fringe contenders. So Dillon White isn't a great win, and he hurt Joshua badly in the fight. And yeah, and I don't think this is a prospect version of Dillon White. It's not exactly the full seasoned professional that we know now. And then he won the world title against Charles Martin. Now, obviously, Charles Martin is one of the worst heavyweight title holders of all time. He won his title on a knee injury. His opponent getting a knee injury. The Ukrainian guy. I can't remember his name at the moment, but he had a knee injury and he obviously went down. And Charles Martin won the vacant title on that. He only had the title because Tyson Fury got stripped of it because he took the Klitschko rematch. And obviously Joshua, from then, it means he's a bit of a paper champion, to be honest. Charles Martin and Joshua were paper champions. Neither of these guys would have been champions if Tyson Fury hadn't have retired. Of course he was going to beat Charles Martin. Charles Martin lost to a 50-year-old Luis Ortiz. Not a great win, let's be quite honest. Then he fought Dominic Breazeale, he's a bum. It's not a good win at all. There's not much you could say really. He got knocked out in one round by Wilder. He got schooled by Otto Wallin. He was an alright amateur, but as a pro he's done literally nothing. So once again, not a great win. Eric Molina is a guy who is very prepared to take dives. We've seen him take dives numerous times before. I'd say he's a journeyman. No way should he have been getting a world title shot, especially in 2016. Not a good fighter, a complete journeyman. So, look, Joshua's first two title defenses, he beat a bum for the title. He beat a bum in a title defense, then he beat another bum in another title defense. Then this is probably this is probably his best victory right here. A 41-year-old Vladimir Klitschko, who was inactive for what, a year and a half, and obviously lost his titles to Tyson Fury a few years before. Why was the WBA thrown into this fight? For an inactive fighter like Klitschko, there is no reason why the WBA title should have been thrown into this. I mean, he obviously wasn't ranked because he was inactive, so there's no way should that have been thrown in. So that's another manufactured situation to give Joshua another title. Obviously Joshua beat this version of Klitschko as he should, and he obviously had a lot of problems. He was knocked down by a right hand, and Vladimir should have finished him right there and then. It was like he didn't go for the finish. And you've got to wonder, like, Vitali came out and said after the fight that they thought Joshua was going to gas in the later rounds due to being so muscular. I mean, if that was the case, why didn't Klitschko hit the body to try and tire him out? I don't know if that was like a set-up win, like Joshua was obviously set up to win that fight and Klitschko read the script, or it was just, he just froze and didn't go for the finish. Whatever, it's still an overrated win over a 41-year-old man. Next fight, Carlos Takam, a gatekeeper in the heavyweight division, who once again had no place getting a title shot. Carlos Takam, who's got 8 losses at this point. And Joshua actually struggled against Carlos Takam, as embarrassing as that is. He won that fight on a premature stoppage, one of those real British stoppages. So it's not even when you take into the manner of the victory, it's not even good at that. And obviously it's only a gatekeeper he was fighting. So yeah, Joseph Parker. Obviously he was another champion. That was a unification fight. I personally had Joseph Parker winning that fight. I thought he won. It was a close fight, but I thought he won 7-5. That was one of the worst fights I've ever seen, and I'm not even joking. The ref prohibited Joseph Parker from doing any work at all. Every time he got inside, the ref would stop the fight. It was obviously set up for Joshua to win, and yeah, the ref protected him. And Joseph Parker, I still had him winning, but if the ref didn't help Joshua, would he have won that fight? I mean, maybe it would have been stopped. How do you know? So I don't really count that as much of a victory at all. I mean, Joseph Parker, he's not a great fighter anyway. He hasn't really got any fighting spirit. Hasn't got much heart. So and if he loses Joe Joyce, convincingly, then that's going to make that win look even worse. So it's probably one of his best wins, and that says a lot. Okay, Alexander Povetkin. Well, he was about 39 years old, and Joshua had real problems with Povetkin. Obviously, he was staggered early in the fight. He was hurt badly by Povetkin, and obviously he came back to stop him. But once again, it's a 39-year-old man. Would Joshua have beaten prime Povetkin? I doubt it. So it's another overrated win, in my opinion. He was just too old at that point. So, and I would have taken prime Povetkin to knock Joshua out, by the way. And then he had a fight against Andy Ruiz. Now, obviously, Andy Ruiz was coming into this fight on a few weeks' notice. Andy absolutely destroyed Joshua. It wasn't even to be destroyed by Andy Ruiz, a guy who doesn't even have much power in the first place. It's pretty embarrassing. Obviously Joshua quit in the fight as well. He spat his mouthpiece out. And yeah, he showed no heart as he usually does. And yeah, a guy like Andy Ruiz, who's what do you call him, a fringe contender? If he's knocking you spark out, if he's absolutely destroying you, then you've got to ask questions. Obviously they had the rematch in Saudi Arabia, and Joshua pretty much put in a complete running performance. He may as well have been in the marathon that night because he was running so much. I mean, Andy Ruiz came into that fight fatter than the first one. And I think it was a bit closer than the scorecard said, personally, but yeah, he won the fight, but Andy Ruiz isn't a great fighter, is he? So then he fought Kubrat Pulev, a mandatory opponent. Kubrat Pulev was 39 years old or 40, and it still took him 9 rounds to knock him out. It was a pretty decent performance from Joshua, but once again, 40-year-old man. I mean, he should be beating Pulev at that stage. You know, he clearly didn't have much left at that point. And then obviously he fought his WBO mandatory Usyk, and he got schooled. I personally had Usyk winning 11 rounds in that fight. Wasn't close. The second fight was a bit closer, so I had that one about 8-4 to Usyk. Joshua actually showed a bit more in that fight, but obviously after his good 9th round he gassed as he always did, and he took a beating. So yeah, I'm struggling to see where the good wins are here. I mean, you've got 40-year-old man, fringe contenders. Obviously he lost to a fringe contender. 39-year-old man, Joseph Parker, who wasn't allowed to do any inside work, and the ref protected Joshua. Takam, who's a gatekeeper and also a premature stoppage. Vladimir Klitschko, 41-year-old man, inactive. You could call that stoppage premature as well, and it looked like that was a setup for Joshua. Eric Molina, journeyman, who's very willing to take dives. Dominic Brazil, bum. Charles Martin, bum. Dillon White, just gatekeeper probably. Gary Cornish, domestic level, and Kevin Johnson, journeyman. So I'm struggling to see the great wins here. If there are any Joshua fans out there, comment in the comments where these great wins are, because I'm not seeing them. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and God bless.